pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson gets it away to Brown. Brown goes in to score.
Oh, he's serving it down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
All right, drop the clutch. Time to rip in. Surly here on your Thursday morning off the back of what was another big sporting week. All Blacks, of course, end their year with a win against Wales. 10 years from their 13 tests. We'll do a bit of a deep dive on their season coming up shortly, give you a grade for the year. Keen to hear your guys' thoughts on what your All Blacks grades were for 2025 as well. Of course, unfortunately, Dan Hooker went down in the UFC. Arman Sarukian, just too good, so we'll touch on that. England, of course, they got pumped in the first test of the Ashes. You love to see it over in Perth. All done in 2 days, so we'll do a quick review of that one. The AFC played out a 1-1 draw at Mount Smart. NBA, NFL continues to march on to some interesting results in both of those sports. 2 pods left after this one, I think. Last pod will be 11th of December. A bit of a Q&A special with some Chasing the Fox chat in there as well to wrap up the year. So we're on the home stretch now and appreciate you all for riding with me. Quick little promo, of course, TAB, they have been our number one naming rights sponsor since day one. So if you are having a flutter this weekend on whether it's the Australian Open Golf, if that tickles your fancy, NBA, NFL, maybe you're getting in early for that Ashes test which kicks off next weekend, or you want to take advantage of some odds in that AJ versus Jake Paul fight December 20th, which I think those odds are going to get crushed in dramatically the closer we get to that fight. So maybe you're looking to take advantage of those. Well, the TAB is the place to do so. Download their app or jump onto the website. Sign yourself up if you're not already a customer and show them some love for getting around the Surly podcast. Really appreciate it. Of course, Bowls Day next weekend as well, down to the last final remaining tickets. Groups are now being sold in teams of 2 and 3 on the Surly Talk Sports website too. Had a few people say they were struggling to get a group of 4 together. Busy time of year, so fair enough. If you buy a team of 3, you'll just play a man down, which could actually be to your advantage. Maybe you have that one shipmate that you don't need. You can cut the fat, keep it nice and precise, best players only. If you buy a team of 2 for $80 a head still, then I'll pair you up with another 2. You can form a 4 and try and take the comp out from there. Some hissing prizes up for grabs. Of course, we've got Frankie's providing the free tins. We've got a DJ. We've got TAB giving out exclusive giveaways, promos, free bonus bets, things like that. And winning teams, there's some tables up for grabs at the Karaka Millions or the Champions Day Horse Racing Early Doors 2026. Sun's out, ponies are neighing, bets are paying, food and drink included. You can basically be their VIP styles. Some great prizes, man. Pretty unreal. So, if you're keen to get amongst it, weather's looking good too. Head along to surlytalksport.co.nz, grab yourself some tickets, and I'll see you there. It's going to be one of the great days. Bit of a Surly Talk Sport Christmas party as well, almost. So, fizz levels will be high. Can't wait to rip in. But, plenty of sport still to tuck the teeth into this week, including some NRL news. Of course, plenty of rugby chat in there with the international season wrapping up. Plus, your weekly wrap and some punting. Let's get into it. Freddy Lussick, of course, big news out of Warriors camp released, effective immediately, and hasn't been confirmed 100%, but all rumours are that he will join the Penrith Panthers from the 2026 season onwards. And shout out to Freddy, actually, like handy footballer, versatile. He's been playing in the middle over the last couple seasons for the New South Wales Cup side, of course. Made his crust as a hooker. Still only 25 years old. I think people underestimate just how young Freddie is. Off the field, a heck of a bloke too, a much-loved lad in amongst the changing rooms. He's been doing his golf content lately too, getting out on the course, filming that, uploading, playing with guys like Joey, Damon and SJ too. So check him out on YouTube if you want to follow along with his content. No doubt that'll continue. But yeah, didn't really see this one coming. Did shock me a little. At the same time, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Interesting though, Penrith Panthers, right, they've now grabbed 5 lads from our competition-winning New South Wales Cup side last year. Kalani Going, Tom Ale, Toby Crosby, and Patrick Moimoi, and now Freddy too. That Patrick Moimoi one, I feel like that has really gone under the radar. This bloke, I think, has superstar potential. Young second rower, can play centre, can play wing. In fact, I think he was a centre winger, and then we made him into a second rower. Scores tries for fun. That is a great get for Penrith, and I wouldn't be surprised if they turn him into a household name over the next couple seasons. But yeah, I thought when Jet got here, the plan was to bring Ivan and Nathan over in the next few years. Of course, Jet lays the foundation, gets himself established, turns himself into a regular week in, week out first grader over the next couple of years, and then across comes Nathan to partner him in the halves, and then of course across comes Ivan, maybe as a head of football role to work alongside Webby. But the more I think about it, the more it kind of looks like we've been Trojan horse. Like, we grabbed Fish, of course, which I thought was great. Then we grabbed Jet. And I was thinking, this is a nice little student exchange program we've got going here with the Penrith Panthers. But now it looks like we've been completely outnumbered. It's basically 5 players to 2. So surely Uncle Ivan is due to send another player over. Look, Casey McLean, he would be incredibly welcome here at Mount Smart. We would love to have him. Nathan Cleary, of course. Isaiah Papali'i, you could send him back. Be nice to get IPAT back in to boost our forward stocks. He could play through the middle too. So, Ivan, or the powers that be at Penrith, if you're listening, you owe us one now. But yeah, I can't help but think, man, he sent Jet over here as a spy to scout out our best talent so the old man can sign them to the Rith. Ivan, mate, just stick to the script. Head over here. No point building the Warriors 2.0 over in Penrith when you can just come across, link up with Webby, bring Nathan, and just make the current Warriors even better. Lead us to our first premiership. Shit, Nathan could even bring his missus, Mary Fowler. She can come too, and she could be the AFC Women's team's marquee signing for 2027 when they enter the comp. To me, it all works perfectly. So let's hope that happens. But in all seriousness, well done to Freddie. Landed a good gig. Yeah, he's a handy footballer. I'll be keen to see if he makes their 17 or if he's just pushing for that bench spot. It does, though, for us, open up a spare top 30 spot. And I'm keen to see what we do with that, whether we head to the open market and go harder for someone like a Nelson Asafa Solomona, who I believe is currently weighing up his options, taking his time. I'd say the Perth Bears are sniffing around. Parramatta, of course, rumoured, and then there's us too. Or whether we opt to lock in another young gun, extend them and keep them at the club long-term. Someone like a Bishop Neal, who I think is already on a pretty decent long-term contract, but not top 30. Maybe we look to top him up, or another of these young boys coming through for sure. But interested to see what the club does with this money and this contract spot now. Do you go harder for a Nas, up the offer, and see if we can pull it off? Or do you just look to keep more of our young talent that's up and coming in the club for the long term? Watch this space. Rugby League World Cup draw and pools came out earlier this week, and I do have to say, this has to be one of the most confusing World Cup setups that I have seen in sport, and it's a bit of a bummer for me, right? You have Pool A, one pool with 4 teams, then you have the other 2 pools, Pool B and Pool C, both with 3 teams. But the catch is, those 2 pools, Pool B and Pool C, they don't play their games against each other. They play teams from the other pool. So it's basically like it's Pool A, the 4 teams, New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, and the Cook Islands. And then there's a second pool, which is the mix of B and C, if you want to put it in layman's terms. But yeah, bit weird to me. Obviously, it's a 10-team comp, down from the 16-team comp that it was back in 2022. And I get that teams like Jamaica, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, they weren't exactly that competitive in the competition. But at the same time, if we want to keep growing the global game, teams like that need exposure to competitions like this in order to improve, increase the popularity of the game in those nations, like Scotland, Ireland, Wales in particular. There's probably potential there. I think Luke Carey played for Ireland last World Cup, and you'll get guys like that, right, who might not make, say, their preferred country of choice, the top team, but then they can opt to play for another country that still represents their bloodline and makes this competition way more interesting. Like Lebanon, for example, Mitchy Moses often laces up for them. So yeah, in all honesty, I don't like the regression from 16 teams back to 10, in particular with how strong International League is at the moment. I feel like the quality of the teams has really gone up a notch. So in order to keep growing the game and strengthening a competition like this around the world, You need those extra teams in there, those 6 extra teams, so they have the opportunity to try and get up to this level. But anyway, here we are with what is arguably the worst ever World Cup format in sport. But I still can't wait for this tournament. I still find myself incredibly excited, and I can't wait for this thing to kick off in 2026. Of course, first game of the comp doesn't get much better than this. Kiwis versus Kangaroos in Sydney. I got to get to that game, man. That is going to be huge. Kiwis, I don't think we'll go in as favourites, but I think we deserve to be best rugby league team in the world at the moment, in my humble opinion. And that game will be the ultimate way to kick things off. I'm interested to see, too, the Kiwis, we host the Cook Islands in Christchurch, and I actually wasn't aware of this because Australia named us the host. I didn't realise we were going to pick up a game. It's at our new stadium, Te Kaha, of course, roof over it, so that is going to be massive. Kiwi Ferns will also play France in a double-header that day, so I love that. Certainly we'll be looking to get down there for that game. Fiji, of course, they're the upset potential side in Pool A. They've beaten us at a World Cup before on home soil too, but yeah, in all honesty, I can't see any other 2 teams apart from the Kiwis and the Kangaroos getting out of Pool A. Still, should be some good games to watch in the pool play. Then Pool B and Pool C is where it really gets interesting. England and Samoa, they are in Pool B alongside Lebanon, and they will play Tonga, France, and PNG. So effectively, either Tonga or PNG need to beat one of Samoa or England to try and advance. England, Samoa, Tonga, and PNG are basically going for 2 spots, and it could be tight. It might well come down to points differential, right? Like, if I was England, I would be nervous. I would love to see Aussie, New Zealand, Samoa, and Tonga all get through. Don't underestimate the strength of PNG as well. It's their national sport, and they've showed over the Pac champs over the last couple of years. Like, they dominate that second div. Pumped Fiji this year at home. I wouldn't be surprised if they can pull off an upset too. So really, it's a 4-team shootout trying to get into those semi-finals between those nations. One of England, Samoa, or Tonga is going to miss out. And yeah, I'm extremely interested to see who that is going to be. And again, if I was England, I would be bloody nervous for sure. But bring on next year's World Cup. Not the ideal format, one of the worst I've seen, but still bums on seats for sure. It's going to be must-watch stuff. And NRL news, Jayden Campbell, staying with the Titans, turned down an extra $1 million over 5 years to stay on the Gold Coast. Perth Bears really struggling to land a marquee signing. And to be honest, I'm starting to get a little worried for them, eh? They announced their first big signing the other day, an English lad from the Super League, which was a decent get, but at the same time, it's not exactly a household name that's going to get people in the stands and Perth fans excited. They're going to struggle to lock down a marquee player, it seems, and that was certainly not all the chat coming in. Over the last couple of months, everyone was saying Perth Bears, big money, Munster, Tino, Jayden Campbell, massive names being thrown out there. I'm not sure they're going to land anyone of that calibre, and I think their first couple years, they could be fielding basically a New South Wales Cup standard team, and I think the travel factor plays a huge part in this. It was interesting to hear Jayden Campbell say he's prioritised his lifestyle on the Goldie over the extra money heading to Perth. That travel factor is massive, man. Basically, every week or every second week, depending how the NRL do the draw to help them out, you'll be travelling 5 hours one way just to get to games. That can take a massive toll on the body, no matter how big the money is. That is going to get frustrating. Of course, international flights in there too. You add in customs and all that jazz. It can become a real rigmarole. It's hard enough to get Aussie lads to come across to New Zealand, let alone go to Perth. When you think about it, the Warriors are closer to Sydney than the Perth side is. So yeah, massive obstacle for them. No doubt Mal has his work cut out for him. And I think he would have been fairly confident he could land himself a big fish. But yeah, the more that time tracks on, the less likely I think it is. Perth Bears battling to get a marquee signing early doors. Tommy Turbo named captain of Manly. DCE gone, of course. Weird seeing him in Roosters colours, but that is what it is. This to me is interesting on 2 points though, the Turbo captaincy appointment. First of all, he's injured a lot. When he's available, he's one of the best players in the world, without a doubt. A great leader. By all accounts, a great bloke too. I know Jazz Tavanga, friend of the show, a big fan of Tommy Turbo and the human being that he is. In fact, all the Trbojevic brothers, you only hear great things, but being skipper, you want them out there on the paddock week in and week out. And we still haven't seen that Tommy is capable of doing that on a regular basis. So that'll be an interesting thing to monitor. Secondly, he only recently extended for just the 1 year. So their skipper is now not locked in long term. Not sure if this was brought up in contract discussions, mate, you'll be made captain, we would love to keep you for longer, but yeah, that 1 year deal, incredibly interesting. All the chatters at JKT, this might well be his last year and then he could retire, so that would be another factor to factor in for Tommy, whether he still wants to stay without his older brother in the mix. Maybe then the Perth Bears and that big money would become appealing to him. But yeah, something to monitor there. Turbo, named skipper of Manly. Love it. Quality player, one of the best in the world. Injured a lot though and only signed a 1 year extension. So will he even be at Manly long term? I'm not 100% sold on that. Good to see Flegler back, ready to go for round one for the Dolphins. That's what early injury reports are saying. And I forget how good this guy is, man. And just how well the Dolphins have done over the last, 2 years? This year in particular. How well they did with their massive injury toll. And it wasn't just fringies too. It was regular first graders. And in Flegler's case, like state of origin players. Unreal how they've just managed to truck through and still be right on the verge of the top 8 this year. They're one of the best attacking sides in the comp, and then you chuck someone like a Thomas Flegler back in the pack. I reckon they are a top 8 team next year, and I'll do my predicted top 8s before we wrap up the pod for this year. A way too early top 8 prediction, but I think you got to have the Finns in there at the moment. They have built an unreal roster, and if they can stay fully healthy next year, they should play finals footy for sure. But the great game of rugby league continues to march on. Off-season, but still regular talking points. Freddy Lussick being the big one this week for Warriors fans. Good to see the main guns back in the mixer too, or a large chunk of them. Wade Egan, Curdy Capewell and the lads all back at pre-season. Dell and co. Do have to say, AKP looking jacked too. Geez, that preseason battle between him and Dallin to wear the wingers jersey is going to be incredibly interesting. Hazen Mellor's big bit of gear too. Don't factor him out of the race. But yeah, exciting times for Warriors fans. And let's stay tuned. What we do for that extra top 30 spot now. Nelson, is he the play? Up the offer? Do we have the patience to wait? Or do we just top up a young buck that we want to keep at the club long term? Let's wait and see. In Webby, Cam George and Cappy, we trust. Rugby Union, the season is done and dusted now. Well, geez, at least I think there's still one more international game this weekend. Wales taking on South Africa, but for the large majority, it is all done. Mad Monday time for the lads. I see the All Blacks have stopped off in Dubai on their way home. Top golf. No doubt plenty of tins too from what I saw from a few players' stories, so good to see them enjoying it. It's a fucking long season. Pretty crazy to think. Super Rugby kicked off 286 days ago today, and the lads are just wrapping up now. That is pretty crazy stuff, man. The toll that must take on their rigs is second to none. But well done to the All Blacks, lads. They finished off with a win, 52 points to 26 against Wales in a game that everyone expected us to pile on a cricket score in. And while 52 is a lot of points, geez, it didn't look like it was going to go that way for a large majority of this game. I think 50-odd minutes in, geez, she was close, 23-21 or round about that. And full credit to Wales, to be fair. I thought they were pretty punchy in this game. Some good young talent coming through there. Young Kiwi fullback Blair Murray at the back. Old Zammit, geez, he's rapid on the wing. Good to see him back from the NFL as well. But yeah, 26 points, conceding that to this Welsh side. That is probably the most alarming thing to come out of this game for me. They've won 1 or 2 games in the past 20-odd tests, so to concede 26 points against a team like that is a little bit worrying, and defensively, I don't think we've been as dominant this year as we have been in previous years. So no doubt All Black assistant coaches will be running over our defensive setup with a fine-tooth comb. I do have to say, though, 7 tries in total. Loved the attacking display that we put on. Sevu Reece with a hiss and step to cross as well. Ended up bagging a double, but that one where he just stood up the Welsh winger, or it could have been the reserve first 5 or fullback. Man, my ankles hurt on the couch watching that. The poor bloke, that'll be sent around his mates' group chats for years. Stood up by Sevu. That was some great footwork right there. Ruben Love for me, he was one of our best on field, and I truly don't get that substitution either. He was playing well, man. And I've always said, like, Will Jordan, he needs to be our fullback, play the bloke in his best position. Well, this glimpse of Ruben at the back does have me wondering, right? His distribution is just so good. He set up multiple tries with his ball-playing ability, the way he attacks the line at speed, his game vision, and just his acceleration off the mark. He's safe under the high ball. I'm starting to wonder, is it better with Love at the back, Will Jordan on the sting? Will was great under the high ball and looked deadly out wide as well. Yeah, I was just shocked we took Ruben Love off this early. It didn't make sense to me, and I think a big factor in that was the score in the game and how close it was at that mark. But I would have loved to have seen Love move to 10 and finish out the game in that position, because I still think he has massive potential there. But yeah, disappointing for Rubes. You're starting to wonder, right? Like, is it something personal? Do the coaches not like him? He's been in the squad for a couple of years now and had very limited opportunities. And whenever he does get a crack, whether at fullback or on the wing, I think he's ticked every box. So, yeah, interesting talking point there too. Other standouts for me, of course, mentioned Ruben Love, Will Jordan. I thought ALB and Rico were a great little combination in the midfield. Perhaps the forgotten two in this All Blacks backline. Both played their 88th test on the weekend, and I think they showed that there is still something there for both of them for sure. I thought Anton was great, carried the ball hard, straightened us up, good distribution game, and then I thought Rico too. Something about him when he leads the haka, it just feels like it has a little bit more mana. No doubt Ruben Love felt that back slap too. He certainly didn't hold back on that one. That would have left some hand marks on Ruben 100%. But yeah, Rico scored a nice try. Love his try celebrations and his swagger. And I think he proved a bit of a point in this game that he's still got more to offer in the black jersey. I thought D-Mac was good too, running the cutter. Plays an exciting brand of footy, allows us to play at a higher tempo. We don't kick the ball away as much, and 8 from 8 off the rubber. That was a good knock from him. I thought Wallace Satiti was devastating with ball in hand. Love him ball carrying. Pound for pound has to be one of the strongest blokes going around. And I also enjoyed Samasoni Taukiaho, old Samsung Sony, running out wide in those loose channels. There'll be some Welsh backs that'll have fucking nightmares of him steamrolling over the top of him. He is powerful fucking operator for sure. And I thought his line-out throwing and work at set piece was really good too. And just on that, we actually won every line-out we had in this game. Fabian Holland, massive in the air. I think he actually led World Rugby this year for most line-out takes. So well done to the young buck. Rewarded too with World Breakout Player of the Year. A huge achievement for him. Overall season rating for me, of course, All Blacks done now. We played 13 tests and we won 10 of them, which, look, when you put it in that perspective, that's a bloody good result, right? And it feels crazy that we have been so unhappy and unsatisfied with the All Blacks' performances this year, or the mainstream media and certain experts have been, I should say. But yeah, for me, I give this year probably a B- to be fair. I think we've looked great at times. I think we've looked pretty average at times too. And the only thing holding me back from giving it more of a B+ rating is just that we've been really inconsistent. I feel like we've got some great wins this year. We've started to build some confidence. You head into games thinking the All Blacks are definitely going to win this one. And then we lose a big game. We pull out a pretty average performance, or we just scrape through against a side that I think we should have been more clinical against. And part of that could be down to the injury toll, right? We used 45 players this year, so a lot of people got opportunities to wear the black jersey, which can only be positive moving forward. But yeah, losses to Argentina over there created history. Then, of course, a record loss to South Africa in Wellington. And then losing to England at Twickenham. That was a real gut-wrencher as well. Also, I feel like we've come to the end of the year and we don't know who our best 23 is, which is a touch worrying, particularly the makeup of our loose forward trio. Do we go with Wallace, Lakai and Ardie? Do we go with Simon Parker at 6 with Lakai and Ardie? Is Lakai our 8? It seems like he is now. He's been unreal the last month or so. But is that the dynamic? When a Tupou Va'i is back available, does he come in and play 6 like he has on occasions this year? Like, I feel like those questions still need to be answered. Who's our best midfield? Who's our starting back 3? I feel like if you look at South Africa and England, right, the best 2 sides in the world at the moment for me, I feel like we know their best 23, there or thereabouts. We could name 20 of the 23 off the top of our head and leave a couple selections there for surprises from Russie. But when you look at the All Blacks, I think we could probably name 10 that we know are genuine starters, and then it's the makeup of the other 5 starters and the bench, where we probably all have different answers around who our best 23 is. 2 years out from a World Cup, is that ideal? Look, we still have time, so don't panic. But yeah, big year next year. Extremely excited for that. The positives for me this year, of course, we protected Eden Park with that big win against South Africa. We also bet Scotland at Murrayfield, which isn't easy to do. And we revenged our loss to Ireland in Chicago by getting the dub there. Also, The breakout of Peter Lussick over the last month has been massive. Fabian Holland, I mentioned one breakout World Player of the Year this year. He has been exceptional, giving us that Sam Whitelock-esque player in the middle. Big body, physical, hits hard, good ball skills, fast, great at line out and set piece time. He has been huge. And then, of course, Cammy Roigard, he continued to get even better as well. I also think Quinn Tupai really put his hand up, and the return of Lester Whainganuku was massive for us as well. Huge year next year. Nations Championship, 4-test tour of South Africa, plus those midweek games. That is a fair dinkum tour, that one. And that right there is a bucket list trip for me, 100%. When you factor in the level of the rugby that is going to be played up against South Africa, plus you factor in their fan base, their stadiums, that whole experience, and plus the beauty of that country. I was lucky enough to go over there, 7th Form, Westlake, First 15 tour. Had the absolute time of my life. South Africa, for all its knocks that it gets in the media and whatnot, beautiful place, great people. Yeah, that would be a massive trip. Those midweek games against like the Stormers and Bulls and stuff, that is going to be so sick. Can't wait for that. We have a massive 2026 the year before the 27 World Cup. And I mentioned before, like 286 days since the rugby season started. Next year is going to take even more of a toll on these players' bodies, but yeah, I can't wait for that. Ireland, they went down to South Africa in a game that was riddled with cards, 5 in total, 4 to Ireland, 3 yellow, 1 red, and then 1 to South Africa. I think the majority of the cards were fair. Irish were just getting dominated at set piece time, but they did scramble well to keep it close. South Africa left plenty of points out on the paddock, and they will no doubt be a little bit gutted at that 24-13 scoreline, but well done to Ireland. I think for a period there, we started to wonder if Ireland had fallen off a little. Of course, we bet them, but that was the start of their season, basically, and it looks now like they've hit their straps, and they've still got a bloody good team. They'll be a force to be reckoned with for sure. France, too good for Aussie. First time in 67 years the Wallabies have lost every game on their Northern tour. That is disappointing. In fairness to them, I think you would have expected them to lose 3 out of the 4. To me, it's that loss to Italy that is the unforgivable one, and no doubt Coach Joe Schmidt, he will be a bit pissed about that over the off-season. I still think they need to lock down who is their 10. That is probably the trouble position for them. In terms of World Rugby Men's Team of the Year, that of course got named early doors yesterday morning. Biggest snub for me has to be Ardie Savea. I would put him above both of the lads in 7 and 8, and Curry and Wilson. To me, you just can't leave Ardie out of this side, and I was shocked to not see him on there. I thought he was going to be nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year, so the fact he didn't make this team, is there something going on there? He has to be one of the first names on any team sheet, surely, whether it's national or world. The bloke is a fucking freak, so I couldn't believe he wasn't in this team. Fabian Holland probably has a case to be pretty hard done by as well. I reckon he would have warranted one of those locking positions, probably over Mario Itoje, although I do think England, right on an 11-game win streak, so that certainly helped them how strong they have been over the last year. Good to see Cam Roigard and Will Jordan make it. Roigard only played 7 tests this year, I think, and still bet guys like DuPont and co in to wear the 9 jersey, the Springboks 9s too. Gee, so well done to Cammy Royds, just shows how bloody good he is. And Will the Thrill Jordan, well done lad, in the 15 jersey. You love to see it. Final piece of rugby chat too, just finish it on some positive news there. Great to see Cam Sorfor returning to the Blues for 2026. Recovered from sarcoma, nasty illness, had his ribs removed, his spine shaved, steel rods put in to stabilise his back, and he's now training with the Blues in 2026. An unreal story. Great bloke, great player, tough as shit, physically and mentally. It's a real feel-good story for the game, and also, more importantly, for Cam, his friends, his family, and his loved ones. So shout out to you, mate. You're an absolute legend. Yeah, I was stoked to see this news pop up on my social media earlier on the week. One of rugby's good buggers, and it's good to see. Good things happen to good people, so all the best to him as he continues his road to recovery, and hopefully we can see him back out there at Super Rugby. Because, fuck, he's a quality player, man. Certainly deserves it based off his game. So let's hope the body can continue to mend and we can see Cam Sorfor out there for the Blues in 2026. Right, weekly wrap and a Carmichael punt, of course, courtesy of the TAB. We'll kick her off with the UFC and a tough day on Sunday for all Dan Hooker fans, myself included, of course. Arman Tsarukyan just proved way too good. Second round win via a submission. That bloke is a heck of a fighter. Outclassed Dan really from the get-go. There were moments there where I thought Hooker looked pretty good, but you can't do much with a bloke like Tsarukyan, to be fair. He's a big lad, built like a brick shithouse, and yeah, he's great on his feet, he can strike, and then the work he does on the ground is just unreal. There were moments there in that fight where it looked like Dan had him in a compromising position, and I thought he was doing pretty well on the ground, to be fair, but then Tsarukyan would all of a sudden just roll out of his grapple attempt and end up on top of him in the click of your fingers. It was pretty crazy to see, and yeah, Dan copped some heat. He wore some shots in this one, so much so that Qatar Airways wouldn't let him fly back home. They made him go back after he got medical clearance from the UFC, back to hospital to then get secondary clearance as well, just to let him board his plane back to New Zealand, which was a bit of a shit show, and I feel sorry for the bloke, but yeah, this was just a pure domination. Well done to Tsarukyan, good to see the lads too after a pretty heated build-up. The headbutt in the weigh-in, that was a nice touch as well in the face-off, but good to see them embrace after the fight, show some mutual respect, and I think that's the thing with Dan, right? Like, geez, he talks some mad shit, and I love that from him. I think that quote he had in the lead-up to the fight was one of the best I've heard, and it was such a Dan Hooker quote, but basically he said, ducks quack, dogs bark, and Dan Hooker knocks people the fuck out. Well, unfortunately, he couldn't do that, but geez, he certainly sold the fight in the lead-up, but that's the thing about Dan, like, he doesn't duck anyone. He will take any fight, anytime, any place if he's healthy. He knew he had to beat Tsarukyan in order to get a title shot, and it may have been a stretch too far, but full credit to the Roost for just taking that fight and giving it a red-hot crack. Just wasn't his day. Huge potential reward, just couldn't get the chocolates, and it was good to hear him say too, post-fight, when asked for his plans for the future, he basically said, I think a title shot is now out of my grasp, so what I'm going to do is just knock people out, ruin their dreams. If I can't have it, then why should they? So he's just going to stay on the warpath, basically. From here on out, I want to see him fight only strikers. I think his ground game, as I mentioned, has improved massively, but I want to see him take on people who want to stand and bang. That's where he has his best chance. If he can just kick the shit out of people and strike away, then he has a red-hot crack to beat anyone on his day. So well done to Dan Hooker, just a stretch too far. Tsarukyan, an absolute beast. I would love to see that title fight. That would be a bloody interesting watch. Have to shout out Ian Gary as well. That bloke looks like a weapon from Ireland in the undercard. Bet Bilal Muhammad. That was some fight, man. His ground defensive work was elite. Stop takedowns left, right, and centre. Made it look easy. And up against Bilal, that is not an easy thing to do. He looks like another one. Title fight on ways. That would be a bloody good biff too. And I just like the cut of his jib, to be fair. Interesting to note too, was browsing the UFC rankings on the weekend post this fight, as you do if you are a sporting purist. And I couldn't help but notice, Kai Kara France, no longer ranked in the flyweight division. Did a bit of a deep dive on this, a bit of research myself, and I saw that Ariel Hawani posted, apparently Kai's going to have a year off. He's left the testing pool, he surrendered his ranking, and he's going to have some time away from the sport. I do wonder, like, it sounds like at the moment this is just temporary. Could well be a permanent thing, though. Obviously, had that title fight, didn't go his way. Looked like it took a bit of a toll on him. To then surrender your ranking, geez, it's not easy to come back in and work your way up to a position like that after taking time out. So, whatever Kai decides to do, 100% respect it, but this one caught me a little bit off guard. We haven't really heard from Kai around it. I'm sure he has his reasonings as well. Young family, wants to spend some time with them. Of course, UFC, tough sport on the body and the head, both physically and mentally as well. Still the Warriors wrestling coach, he's done some work with the Crusaders and other sporting teams, so I have no doubt that coaching would be a great avenue for him too, but something to monitor, whether this is just a 1 year short break type of thing or whether this could perhaps be a permanent thing. I love watching Kai fight, heck of a human, great bloke, would love to see him back in the UFC for sure, but whatever he decides to do, of course, 100% his choice. And if he does decide to call it a day, heck of a career from one of the greats out of CKB. But yeah, something to keep an eye on right there. And let's see if Kai comes out, makes a bit of a statement around that in the near future. Ashes What a test that was, the first Ashes test, of course. England go down to a crushing defeat in Perth. What a fight back win from Australia. When it looks like their backs were against the wall, out comes Travis Head and guides them home with an inspirational knock. It was the first two-day Ashes test since 1921. Blink and you'll miss it. She was over fast, basically one-dayer type stuff, but man, Head. That was the second fastest Ashes 100 of all time, off only 69 balls. The irony in that, Head off 69 century. That is pure test cricket poetry. And Aussie, man, they gave up a first innings lead of 40. They were 105 behind when England was 65 for 1 just after lunch on day 2. And then Mitchell Starc, 10-wicket haul, some awful batting from the visitors, it has to be said. And then a masterstroke from Head at the top of the order. Geez, this Aussie side, it's not often that I cheer for them, to be fair, in any sport, Australia, but I feel like whenever they take on England in the Ashes, I can't help but get around the Aussies. Maybe it's the Bloke Hello Sport podcast I consume and how pro-Australia they are too, but yeah, something about the English cricket side, I just can't get around them. Stokes, of course, great New Zealander, Christchurch lad, so I can get around him, but apart from that, I think I want Aussie to win this series, and I wouldn't mind if they swept it, which feels bad to say. Brendan McCullum, of course, head coach, Tim Southey in the coaching setup too, but yeah, I think I'm behind Australia in this one. So England, they lose this one. They lost 6 wickets for 39 runs in 11 overs to basically just fall apart. Lost their last 9 wickets for 99 runs. One of the great bed shits when the first test was there for the taking. Next test gets underway next Thursday. I think it's in Brisbane. Aussie $1.52 favourites at the moment. England $2.85. I expect that to come in. I think Aussie will be too good. The sweepers on, brooms are out at the moment, and across the rugby league and the cricket, if they can pull off the clean sweep, then that would be huge for that proud sporting nation. Of course, the Black Caps R Test series with the West Indies gets underway next week. Captain Kane, he is back. He's not your skipper, but he is back in the test lineup. Anytime I see a New Zealand Black Caps team with Kane Williamson in the squad, I get a semi-chub for sure. Good to see Dazza Mitchell back as well from injury. 2 huge inclusions. Couple out injured, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but excited for some test cricket on New Zealand soil too. Bloody good stuff. Can't help but be jealous watching the Aussies rip into the Ashes, and I can't wait for next year's Boxing Day test. Black Caps in the mixer. That is another bucket list trip that I bloody want to be at in 2026 for sure. What a year of sport we have next year, right? Football World Cup over in, America, Mexico, co-hosting that. I think Canada potentially in the mix there too. We've got the Rugby League World Cup. We've got the Boxing Day tests. We have got that All Blacks tour throughout South Africa. You've got the Super Round, Magic Round as well. Fuck, it's just all go state of origin. The bank account is going to take an absolute pounding, but hopefully I can at least get across the ditch to a couple of those events. It's going to be one of the great sporting years for sure. NBA and NFL, those continue to hum. If you're looking for sports to have a punt on this weekend, then those are probably your go-to. Same game multis apply that promo too. Place a 3+ leg same game multi on a single game. If it misses by 1, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $50. Max of 1 game per day, but that's a bloody good swing, eh? Get on some points, some rebounds, some assists in your basketball, and then anytime touchdown scorers, QB throwing yards, overs, all that type of stuff in your NFL certainly makes things more entertaining there. The A-League, AFC, unfortunately played out a draw at home, probably their worst performance of the year so far. Do have to say too, bit of the hype, bit of the buzz in the stands seemed to have died down a little around the AFC. Of course, that was always going to happen. First year fever. Everyone was getting there. It was the hottest ticket in town. It'll be interesting to see how the derby sells out next week. Auckland up against the Wellington Phoenix at the Fortress. That should be a big attended game for sure. But yeah, just couldn't help but notice the Port, not quite as humming. The whole stadium in general, not quite as packed. Bums on seats needed, and a win needed this week too. Taking on the Newcastle Jets, $1.57 favourites, Newcastle $5. I think we pump those losers for sure. And sticking to your soccer football, Liverpool, fuck me, are we in a slump? I got to say it, Arnie out. Sorry, Slot, mate, you've got to go. A 3-0 loss this week to the 16th place Nottingham Forest at home. That just doesn't happen. We've now lost 6 of our last 7 Premier League games. Look, I don't mind Slot as a person. Seems like a great bloke, but clearly not quite getting the same effect out of the locker room that our boy Klopp has in years gone by. And I just wonder, man, like, how many more losses will it take before the powers that be at Liverpool HQ pull pin on the bloke? We get someone else in and off we go from there because, sitting in 9th at the moment? That is simply not good enough. Arsenal looking great, 6 points clear at the top. Chelsea and City in 2nd and 3rd. Aston Villa in 4th, don't mind saying that. And Crystal Palace in 5th. Go, you good things. Love seeing a battler up there in the mix. Or not a battler, to be fair. They've been decent for the last couple of years, but bloody good on them up in 5th. Jumping across to the golf, Aussie PGA gets underway today. Foxy top 10 paying $2.75. Love that for Ryan Fox. That'll be my best bet of the weekend. Hopefully he can go the big lift and get the dub. His boy Minwoo Lee, the betting favourite to take it out at $10. Other Aussie Cam Smith also in the field. Some Kiwis in the mixer too, Daniel Hillier and co. But of course Ryan Fox, our best shot. And there's actually some big news coming up around Chasing the Fox and myself shortly, which I'll mention over the next couple of weeks. No, I'm not playing in the main event, but there could be something else cooking. So really looking forward to that, December 12th. If you haven't already got your tickets to Chasing the Fox, I would thoroughly recommend it. I think GA is on 2nd or 3rd release. VIP going fast too. Cyril in the mixer on the party hole. You got Team Lee, got the Warriors boys in there, all sorts of celebrities from across New Zealand and around the world. Mac Boucher in the mix too. Love watching him swing some sticks. Of course, our boy Foxy in there, run trying to chase him. Team Media trying to go back to back. My mate Bryce Casey in the mixer there from Media Work, so shout out to him. But yeah, one of the great days. I think I've actually booked a limo to come home. Well, actually, a bit of context around that. Mate gets a free limo for one night a year, part of their work perks. And I think we've locked it in to pick us up from Chasing the Fox. So that should be a bloody good send in the limo on the way home too. But yeah, get your tickets for that December 12th out at Royal Auckland. Really is one of the great single sporting day events on the New Zealand sporting calendar for sure. Formula 1 Monday morning, Qatar. Max Verstappen, 225 favourite to win that. Lando at 275. George Russell and Oscar Piastri, the pastry, at $9. Really heating up now at the top there. McLaren up against Max to see who takes it out. Only 24-point separation, I believe, between Max and Lando now. So yeah, this is going to go right down to the wire. An exciting finish in the old Formula 1. And then finally, before we wrap things up, just did want to give a shout out to AJ and Jake Paul. That fight, of course, going down Saturday, 20th of December. So still a wee while away now, but I'm of the firm belief these odds are going to plummet dramatically the closer we get to this biff going down. AJ paying $3.25 to pull off a round 1 knockout, $4 for a round 2, and $6 for a round 3. Surely he drops Jake Paul. And I get, like, full respect to Jake Paul. He cops a lot of shit. I think he's actually a better boxer than a lot of people expect. But this is Anthony fucking Joshua. And if he doesn't knock him out in the first 3 rounds, then I'm going to be incredibly fishy. Just seeing them at the face-off, the press conferences. Joshua is fucking huge, for starters. Add to that, former world champ, man. This bloke is a weapon. So surely he sleeps Jake, and surely he gets it done early. $3.25 for round 1, $4 for round 2, $6 for round 3. Say Leslie Rayasi, baby. I'm jumping on all of those and seeing if I can make my money back. In particular, round 2 and round 3. I think Jake will survive a couple big shots early. They'll let this thing run out. Big Netflix audience, a lot of money at stake. They were talking like $216 odd million total money pool for this fight, which is fucking crazy stuff. Full credit to Jake Paul. He can sell himself a fight and make people rich for sure. Not that Anthony Joshua needs the extra coin, but yeah, get on those odds. I think they will plummet in the weeks to come as we inch closer to this fight on the TAB. But good luck on the old Carmichael Pump this weekend. Still plenty of sports to have a flutter on. Not your usual rugby in your rugby league. Time to diverse the investment portfolio and see if you can walk away with some winnings from elsewhere. Gamble responsibly, of course. How bloody good. Right, that's us for the podcast this week. Short, sharp, punchy. Of course, the world of sport, winter sport anyway, wrapped up. Summer sport still in full swing, but not as much to cover this week. I think I'm going to punch out around 2 more podcasts, wrap her up the week of Chasing the Fox, where I'll probably do a Q&A special that week, to be fair. So start firing in, or thinking of your questions anyway. Fire them through. Things like predictions for 2026, all that type of stuff. Doesn't even have to be questions that are sports related, to be fair. Would love to hear from you. I'll chuck the question box up that week, so you can get them on through. If you're having a punt this weekend, please do so through the TAB. Really appreciate their support. And Surly Bowls tickets on sale. There's only a couple of groups now. We're really down to the wire. Not a lot of teams left. I am selling groups of 2 and 3 now as well, because a lot of people saying they were struggling to get a 4 together. Busy time of year, so I get it. But fuck, free tins, DJ, some hissing prizes from the TAB up for grabs, including tables at the Karaka Millions and Champions Day, horse racing next year, free food and drinks included, VIP stuff, bust out the suits. That'll be elite. I'll be there too, so we can share a nice day on the Waitakere Daiquiris 100%. But otherwise, go well, enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you back here, same time, same place, next Thursday. Big Fizz.